Hello and welcome to the Metaphysical Life podcast, where we discuss all things relating to the body, mind, and spirit. I am your host, Nicole Caille. And today's guest we have on the line right now is Huguette Belanger. She is a wonderful woman and she is the owner of Fancy Feet Reflexology. She's actually, she does my reflexology. So we've gotten to talk about a lot of cool conversations, and I wanted to have her on here and share a little bit about her journey, and we'll see where that leads us. So Huguette, say hi.
Yes, hi. Hello, and thank you for asking me to participate in your brand new development and project with your podcast. That's amazing. What a great journey you're on.
Thank you, Huguette. So how about we start with just sharing a little bit about who you are and your journey, and just so the listeners can get a feel of who you are.
Sure. So basically, I'm a 59-year-old senior-ish woman who worked for the federal government for 27 years, pushing paper and living in a cubicle world. And I decided in 2017 to take my retirement, an early retirement, because I found that I wasn't quite satisfied with where my journey was leading me. And even though working for the federal government has been very good for me, I seemed like there was something missing. And my brother passed away during that time. And for some reason, I was just led into a different journey in wellness. And I was having a massage one day, and the massage therapist said to me something about reflexology, and all of a sudden it clicked. Because during that moment, I took a year off after I retired, and I wanted to find something. And I have, for the longest time as a young lady, I was brought up in a very dysfunctional home. So, and I recovered from, or I should say survived from abuse and not feeling like I was a complete woman, and which led me to other circumstances and addictions. And so this this new journey that I wanted to embark was very vague, and I wasn't sure where to go and what to do, but I knew I wanted to help people. And so when the word reflexology came about, it brought me back to I sobered up in 1993, so I would say around 1997, 1998, when a lady that I knew very well asked me to, and that's how this whole journey of reflexology started. In the meantime, there's other things that had happened. And so I found as a child, now that I look back, that I was surrounded by spirits. And I had these sightings. And I wasn't sure how to handle them. So naturally, as a child, you kind of brush it all off and you move on to your journey. And, it always comes back. So that's what I heard anyways, that it had always come back. So I found that when I began my journey into recovery in 93, that's when it seemed like my mind and my spirit and my body, my vibration increased or grew. And all of a sudden, I started to develop being an empath, and my intuition started to be very sharp. And as I'm getting older, it's even sharper, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a bit. So my passion is definitely to help other people, or at least to connect with them on an emotional level, and to share my experience, strength, and hopes to others, and to encourage them into the same type of journey that I'm enjoying.
Wow, beautiful. Nice journey.
Yes.
So yeah, thanks for sharing that. And what made me think is you said around you know, there was a point in your life where you started to become more aware and more of an empath. And how did you deal with that? You know, how did you know that this was happening to you? And what were the signs, I guess you can say, that you experienced at that time?
Well, I didn't understand what was going on because an empath have this, in my interpretation, anyways, we have a sense of how people are feeling. Or when I walked into a room, I sense the vibration of people, their energy, and I knew exactly which way I should be, where I should be going, where I should be sitting, or who I should be talking to. And then it escalated to the point where every time I meet someone, I get that feeling of, I'm trying not to take on their energy, but it's because now I protect myself. But however, when I wasn't protecting myself, that energy, I would take it on. Their energy would be taken on by me. And so I found myself in depression, anxiety, panic attacks, sometimes joy, you know, like it depends how that person felt. And, you know, this is how I interpret it, is that I feel like I have radars. And, you know, as soon as someone talks to me and I know that they're not quite, how would I say that, not quite truthful, or they're trying to manipulate me to in a certain way, my radars are always, you know, going, watch out, watch out, watch out, you know, be careful, be careful. And so I have the tendency of being very mindful of how my body, my mind tells me these messages, and I receive them very quite clearly. So to protect myself is very important on a daily basis, so that I could move that energy. They can keep their energy and I keep mine. It's because if not, I get very tired easily. And like I mentioned, depression, anxiety, because I feel what other people feel.
Right.
So it could be very dangerous.
Right. So the next question, so I have two more questions. The first one is, how do you protect yourself? So let's say, you know, you're invited to a, I don't know, an old work reunion party and you want to go, but you know there are some mixed energies there. What would you do? What would be your process before you went to that event?
So I always take time to ground myself. So I'll go into a very quiet area and then I practice my grounding. So that means that I make sure I visualize the root at my feet, grounding to the floor or the earth, and then I bring that energy throughout my body and I bring it to the universe and make that connection of protection, the energy protection. And so once I do that, then I make sure that I send a huge protection of light around me. So it's like a bubble of light around me. And I make sure that it's also sealed so that there's no little ripples coming out. So now I'm protected. I'm good. I have my cocoon around me and I'm off to whatever I need to do. I also take time to perform some self Reiki treatment, because if my chakras are not aligned, or if my vibration's a little bit off, my protection will not work. So I just make sure that I do self Reiki, self healing, and bring energy healing to myself, especially to my heart and my solar plexus. So that way, you know, it prevents me from being overly sensitive, too hyper, because I know I'm a very hyperactive person, and it also brings me some stability on the anxiety front. So it's just grounding, protection. I'll sage myself as well. And
we were disconnected, so we're back now. Oops. Live.
Yes, live. And the energies was very strong, eh? So we're very strong. So wouldn't be surprised if little things happen like that. Anyway, so I was just saying that as long as I'm grounded and protected and I feel strong, then I can go and do whatever I want and meet the people. And I try not to work on I try not to embark in this event by being empathic, because like if I do that, then again, you know, I'm working on other people's, trying to protect my emotions, or try not to pick up energies from other people. So I just try to relax, be myself, and enjoy the gathering.
Right. Now, what happens, you know, if let's say you didn't protect yourself and you went to this event? How do you, and then you come back and you know, you have all these feelings now, whether it's joyful or, you know, let's assume it was some negative feelings. How do you rid those negative feelings after the fact? Do you have something that you do?
I have a little ritual. It doesn't take long, but what I do normally is I'll come home and sage. Take a shower so that I can a cool shower so that I can take away whatever's stuck on me. That's how I call it. I feel like energies are stuck on me, and then I'll sage, and then I do self Reiki, and then do another protection and grounding exercise, and it takes maybe, you know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But then because if I don't do that, I get so exhausted, and then I'm in a bad mood. I'm feel like I could bite people's head off, you know. Like it's a very it's not a very pleasant experience, and I don't like having that negative energy inside me. So as long as I do what I need to do on my little routine, I call it, then I'm good. I can go to bed and sleep it off. I won't have any bad dreams. I will have a good sleep. I won't have interrupted sleep. And then the next morning I can, resume my day without, biting people's head off.
Right. Very nice. That's good tips, because I think a lot of people don't realize that they are empaths. You know, maybe they don't understand that when they go and they visit, a area, like visit a family, or they go to an event with lots of people, and they come back and they don't feel like themselves. I sometimes think that just people don't understand, that everything is energy, and that they're empaths, and how to help that, before and after. So I thought those were good tips to share. You shared with me before, so I thank you for sharing that with the listeners. You mentioned a few things, and I don't know if we got cut off, but you talked about spirits. Tell us a little bit about that. You said you have spirits, you talk to these spirits.
I have spirits. I love my spirits. I've been dabbling in mediumship. I would say when I started my Reiki, my first Reiki course, it must be about 4 or 5 years ago. Anyways, and but for the longest time, I didn't know how to manage it. I wasn't sure if it was just me, because sometimes I feel like I'm a little crazy. So because there's things that happen in my mind that, and being an empath, and having very strong intuition, made me, because I wasn't sure what was going on, made me feel like I was not normal. And so when people die, or when it started with family members, when they passed, and when they passed, they would come and visit. They would leave me little trinkets that I could identify that it came from them. And sometimes I heard them speak to me, and I thought, like, I must be imagining things. It can't be true, And then when my brother passed away in 2017, it became so, is it flagrant? That I can't think of the word, but it was very noticeable. Flagrant, eh? Flagrant in French. Pardon my French, but It's called flagrant in French. It means like it was so explosive that that the messages, and when he was talking to me, it was his face, his voice, and what he was telling me was exactly what had happened in our relationship. We didn't have a good relationship because of the addictions, and my brother was very strong in addictions and died as a result of his addictions. And so when he was trying to communicate with me, I would smell cigarette smoking. I have his baseball cap, and I would take it and smell it, and then I saged it after he passed away. But then all of a sudden, I would get that scent again from the baseball cap. He played in a band called Faucon, which is a falcon, and I would see falcons. Just little things like that, or music, specific music. And then I started to realize, Huguette, like, I need to be opened up with this, because obviously if he's trying to talk to me, then there might be others similar to how it happened in my past, that I need to collect information from them and have them have the comfort of coming in and being comfortable in demonstrating that they're connected, not to for the other person or the family member, whoever it is that they come out to visit me for, to make them feel comfortable, and that that they're watching over them and that they're protecting them in some way. So that's how the journey started. And since then, because I have my vibration has enlarged, they come more frequently. So during a Reiki session, if I know the person is ready to receive the visit, then they come, because I just tell them before I start Reiki, if do you want to come in and visit? If there's a visitor, please come in, because I know that the other person will be open to the visit. If not, they don't even come. They don't even show up. They come in my dreams as well. If I know that they haven't crossed over, so they'll ask me to help them cross over. So I've done that a couple of times as well. And it's a little ritual that I do, but I know that once it's done, they're happy and they can move on. I don't want to see the spirit in between lives, I feel for them. So basically, that's how my journey to mediumship has started, and it continues to evolve. And I would love to see it even grow even more. So the more I do Reiki or perform Reiki treatments to other people and to myself, the more my vibration expands. And the more my vibration expands, the more they allow themselves to come in. I do set myself some guidelines, not guidelines, but some boundaries around them, because I don't want them to come and visit me at all times. So I'll give it a time frame. So you're allowed from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. But you're entitled to come in my dreams later on. So they know that before that, if they do show up, I'm sorry, not allowed right now. And if they choose to come back, then they do. But otherwise, right now, I only see them. They present me with little objects that the other person can identify, but they're not speaking to me yet. So that's the part I wish to embark in, is the messages, to be able to receive their messages.
Very, very cool. Very cool. So the more you do Reiki, the more you practice that, the more you're going to develop those skills, for sure.
Yes.
Cool.
And I've been looking for a teacher that would be able to mentor me, and I'm still seeking, and I'm not worried that someone will come in my path, because throughout my whole life, there's always been somebody placed in my journey to help me move along with whatever my passion was. So I'm just leaving it at that, and I continue just, tapping into it and letting them in and making sure I'm safe and that they're safe in doing it as well.
And then you'll wait for the synchronicities to happen.
Yes, and they will.
Exactly.
Not in my time, though.
Yeah, exactly. Another question I thought of, because you talked about Reiki, and I think it would be a good idea just to share a little bit about maybe Reiki and reflexology, kind of like what you do, and maybe the difference between the two. I know I do regular Reiki and reflexology with you, but I thought maybe you can share with the listeners, what the difference is between the two of them, and when would somebody want to do one over the other, that sort of thing.
Okay. So my interpretation of both, because we all have our own interpretation, all Reiki masters have their own, but in general, it's pretty much the same. So Reiki is more of using energy, channeling energy to bring light and healing energy to the person that we're treating. And it's a more, how would I say that? It's a more relaxing modality. And I know that when I first started taking the course, we were concentrating more on the 7 main chakras of the body. And so, do you want me to tell you a little bit about the chakras, or identify them? Okay, so we have the crown chakra. Now watch this, I'm going to blank out. We have the crown chakra, which is, as far as I'm concerned, it's the connection with a higher power, God, creator, universe, whatever you want to call. So it's that connection, to establish a connection with the higher self. And then we have the third eye. And to me, the third eye is to expand the vision and to expand vibrational energies. So, it works I would say, for me, it works with the crown. It's related. If I see a clear picture, if my vision is stronger, then I have a better connection with God, or God or creator, whatever I call it my team, because that's where they are. And then, of course, you have the throat. So my communication, it's very important for me to be able to communicate properly. Some of the clients that I see that have communication issues, like, they don't know how to formulate a sentence without being aggressive, or, they're always mad. Well, things come out the wrong way. So communication is very important, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to the throat. And then you have the heart. The heart is the love, self-love, loving others. Anyways, anything that has to do with love. And then you have the solar plexus, which is just located just underneath the breast, or in the middle. And that relates to, for me, the way I see it, or that my intuition tells me, it has to do with anxiety, has to do with the nervous system. And every time that I know I feel, antsy, it comes from the solar plexus. And then below the belly button, you have the sacral chakra, and I call it the mother womb. And so anything that has to do with procreation, also there's money involved in that too. So and that's that part, is it could be even digestive system. That's why I link it a lot with reflexology, which I'll explain in a second. And then you have, from the hips down to the feet, you have the roots. So, the family, anything that has to do with your past, your future, your present, the grounding itself. So when I first started with Reiki level 1, that's what we were concentrating on, healing and balancing the chakras. And when I took my level 3 and 4 with another teacher, it became more of a healing the body in general. So all organs, glands, body parts, which was a very interesting concept because of reflexology. Now, reflexology is a different modality, and it's a little bit more aggressive, because throughout your feet, your body is represented. Your whole body is represented. So the physical, well, it's all physical, I should say. The glands again, the organs, and all your body parts are located, and we call them reflexes, but they're located in every part of your foot. So when I took level 3 and 4, and with reflexology, I had been practicing for about a year, a little over a year, I kind of made the connection between the two. And now when I'm performing a treatment of reflexology, I always now think, am I placing my hand to a specific spot? So especially if a client says, I have a sore back and I'm working on the sciatic, or if I'm working on the spine and I perform my treatment on it, sometimes depending on if the person has severe pain, I'll put my hand there and bring energy healing. And I also do the same when I'm doing a Reiki session, or a Reiki session. So if I know the client and I know the client has migraines or eye issues or allergies, their sinuses are blocked, then I'll spend more time around the head area to bring energy healing to those areas. And I've seen a lot of positive outcomes out of this. And I'll give you an example. I had a client that, her allergies are just so terrible at this time of year, and she could barely breathe. And so I did my reflexology treatment for 30 minutes, because I do have combos of 30 minutes of each. And so I started with my reflexology, worked on her sinuses and all the respiratory organs. And then when I started Reiki treatment, I started to work on her forehead, the sides of the temples, all around. I spent a lot of time there, probably about 20 minutes. And she fell asleep, of course, because the body's detoxing or releasing toxins from the reflexology. And so reflexology or Reiki does the same thing. It continues the healing of releasing toxins. And so basically her nose went posh, and it started to unblock, and she was able to breathe through her nose instead of her mouth. So just little things like that. Or if someone has a sore back, I'll have them lie on their belly during a Reiki treatment, and then I'll work in the area, lower back and whatever. And I do feel so much heat in the areas where there's pain or there's disturbances in that area. So I know that my energy light that I'm channeling is definitely helping in all ways that it can. And that also depends on how the client is receiving it too. Because if the client is skeptical, then they probably won't get the results that they're looking for. So right. As long as I do my job, I know that I've done everything I can to help the client. So yes, reflexology is more of an aggressive, not very aggressive, but it's more of a hands down. Exactly. While Reiki is more relaxing, and you kind of float through the journey of the healing.
That's awesome. I know the experience has changed for me from the beginning when I started to see you to now. I remember the beginning, after each session, I was, exhausted, like spent. And now after a session, I'm like energized. It's a totally different feeling. What's that?
Yes. I've seen the difference. It's amazing. It's amazing to watch you going into your own journeys.
Yeah.
Because of the help, and you're doing all kinds of other things that are helping you change into a different person.
No, totally. A healer. Well, thank you so much for sharing your journey and where you are. And for those people listening, sort of an introductory on chakras and reflexology. And where can people find you? Are you online anywhere if somebody wanted to connect with you?
Absolutely. So I do have a Facebook page, Fancy Feet Reflexology. I'm located in Cornwall, Ontario. My business is in Cornwall, Ontario. And you will find all my coordinates. So my phone number. Uh, I am currently revamping my my website. And so it's in construction. I'm hoping to have that done by the end of the month. And so that's another place. Or you can PM me, private message me. I'm accessible as much as I can through social media, and eventually through my website.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so
And
much
through
for
you.
sharing. What's that? And through, yeah.
And through.
Thank you. Thank you so much for
I
sharing.
appreciate you. Yes, I appreciate you asking me. This is such a beautiful opportunity for me to have a one-on-one with you, continue to have our one-on-ones together, but in a different way. And so I thank you for thinking about me, and I love the experience.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. And I will see you in a few weeks for my reflexology. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Yeah, you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.